Welcome, welcome to another beautiful episode of Two Voices, One Mic. I am your
Hello,
host.
hello.
And this is your other host.
Dual host. That's why it's called Two Voices, One Mic.
Boom, where we explore the intricacies and adventures of being a voice actor. So, diving right into fun things. I believe this week you were talking to me a little bit ago about wanting to talk about some of the gear.
Yeah, I'd like to, give people kind of a 101, for lack of a better term, like voice acting for dummies, You remember those books, right?
Yeah, I read all the time.
I don't know how, I just, I do it.
Yeah, I just get paid too, and
But,
that's it.
It's gonna, compose, you're gonna need a few things for that.
Okay. So where do we start? If I'm just like a brand new person.
Well, I mean, what do you use? What are you using right now?
Well, I feel like first thing that you're going to need is obviously you need a microphone. But before we even get into that, I kind of feel like we should work our way up. You need a computer. What kind of computer you're going to need is kind of up to you. Because I feel like we're going to run into that time-honored battle between PC and Mac. Because there's a lot of people...
100%. I feel like it's whatever you're comfortable using.
Yeah.
Just like with the phone stuff, Android or Apple or whatever. Whatever you're accustomed to using, just stay with it. I'm not trying to say one's better than the other. I've been an Android person pretty much my whole life because I can't afford iPhones. So,
Right.
And I can't afford MacBooks, so I've been a PC person. I'm not going to go into all the nuances of each one.
Right.
But if you're used to using one, don't change.
Yeah.
Buy a. You could. I'm sure you could do this on an iPad.
I'll bet you could. I don't know that I would personally, but like me personally, I've got a laptop for this. I'm using my laptop for it, and I'm used to being kind of a spoiled Apple brat because of the sound experience I've had doing engineering and stuff like that. But you don't really need it. I think people get kind of confused thinking they need like a really nice PC when all you really need is a nice CPU, because when you're talking about rendering and frame rates and bit rate, that's the real important part. If you get most of the time the program will do that for you. So I would say just get yourself a nice laptop because it's portable. If you've got to go take it to a job site.
If you're planning on moving it places, then get a laptop. If you're not, then I have a desktop, but it's literally this big and that tall.
Oh yeah, you sent me the link on that thing. What was that?
It's very small. It was a little shy of $200, and extremely capable machine.
Yeah.
We'll just I'm not going to go into the specs because that doesn't really matter right now. But very capable, very capable.
Yeah.
So you could find something for like $150. Let's just say you had nothing. $150. You can find something, either a nice used PC or a pretty good brand new one on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like a no-name kind of Chinese brand,
It's safe to say you could probably get your in from anywhere from like 150 to, there really isn't a top end, but 150 to $500 low end if you want. You can get your computer, which you're going to need because of what you have to hook into it, obviously. I think we're just talking strictly hardware. I don't really want to get into the software just yet.
Yeah, no.
And I know you said you're using a mixer.
Yes, I am.
On your side. I'm going with well, actually, why don't you tell us about that mixer?
So it's definitely overkill for this.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people use like a Focusrite, they're amazing.
Those little Scarlett 2i2s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
These are great.
Where you just only have a couple of inputs. But this, and later during editing, we'll put up a photo of it or something. Yeah. But it has like, I don't know, at least like 14 inputs. It's a very big unit. And yeah, it was like a $650 mixer, but you 650, 700, but you definitely don't need that.
Yeah.
I even think that some of the USB mics are more than capable of doing.
I was going to talk about that because I'm more traditional. I like the and you can see kind of rocking an XLR setup, and I am one of these Focusrite.
As am I.
I'm using a PreSonus right now, actually AudioBox USB setup because I love it. I wanted to get a Focusrite, but then I just found a screaming deal on PreSonus, and PreSonus is a fantastic brand, really good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I got their AudioBox system. It's just like a little box. It's sitting right behind my computer. It's like yay big. Plug your XLR into it. It's got 2-channel input, and really, if you're doing voice work, you don't need more than that. You could use 1 channel and be just fine.
100.
I agree with you saying that Allen and Heath that you're rocking is like overkill because it's got like 16 channels, but
overkill. But I bought it for a completely different reason years ago.
Right.
And it works for this. So
yeah.
What am I? Yeah. What am I going to do? Like buy like something that's cheaper, and use it? Anyway.
Yeah, that's the advantage of being in the sound business. You always got some sort of equipment laying around. Yeah. It's funny actually now that we're talking mics because I was curious about this. I've been looking at USB mics. I don't know how to feel. I kind of I'm a snob when it comes to audio quality, and I feel like USB introduces the possibility for latency issues.
Do you think
watching this, I do, just because I feel like nothing's gonna beat an XLR connection for me personally. I mean, y'all watching this, if you want to comment below, say what you think, say what your ideas are. It's an open door.
Had any experience with USB mics? If people have had experience, I feel like a lot of like YouTubers I saw for a long time were using the Blue Yeti mic, and that is a USB mic. Tons of them are, and now they've all moved to like the Shure SMB 47, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They nice
just
big
came out
one.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they're all using it now, but that's like a $400 microphone.
Yeah, I mean, once you get the streams and once you get the fans, you can pay for it and do it.
Hey,
I love Shure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shure's, that's a company a name I know and trust, and they've got stuff for every occasion.
Been around for 70, 80 years. Like they're good.
Yeah,
that's what this guy is a Shure. My Elvis mic.
One. That is pretty.
Yeah.
It's classy.
But
what mic are you rocking right there?
This is pardon me, it's a Audio-Technica 2032, I think.
I love the pop guard on that thing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have one like you have, like the traditional one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got this for this exact reason.
Yeah, it's nice. You can see a lot more of your face. I kind of feel like tugging mine down a little bit and just being like, peeking over it. But
yeah, it's the AT 2035 or something like that. So it's the next step up from the AT 2020. Or Audio-Technica, AT, Audio-Technica. A lot of people do start out with the 2020, which is, it's pretty much just as good, just a little bit, maybe about a $50 difference.
Yeah.
This one's about $50 more.
There are people that say that you get what you pay for when it comes to equipment. So if you're...
And I would agree.
Forking out that $500 for a mic, cool. I personally feel like when it comes to quality, that's what you should pay attention. Like, if you're going to throw money into your setup, throw it into your mic. Because all these audio interfaces that we're talking about do the job. A mixer will do the job. You can hook it up. It'll be fine. Your computer can handle it. Computers nowadays have the processing power to handle all the rendering, on average. It's not a big deal. But if you're going to throw some money on it, mine would be in the mic. And I know I'm saying that as I'm using a freaking PreSonus M7 here, but blah, blah.
Well, what microphone is that?
This is a PreSonus M7. It seriously is like $150 mic, and
well, I mean, mine's like $150 mic, so I mean.
Well, I have my really nice one sitting up with my gear. It's a blue mic. It's a Bluebird. It's like a $1,200 mic that I found for like $150 on Facebook Marketplace. Which, by the way, if you guys are trying to find like gear, just hit up that marketplace. Local stuff. There's people that they bought it thinking that they were going to do their podcast or thinking they were going to do this, that, and the other, and then they just didn't. It's the same with musical instruments. There's always somebody out there that like was like, oh, I want to get into this, but then when they see the work involved, they're like, nah, and then they lazy out and they don't do it for whatever reason.
Wait, those amazing guitarists that I look up to, they weren't just born with this talent? They had to work for it? No.
I couldn't just buy my way in.
I'm not just good like the second I start? No, forget about it. It's like everything in life, practice makes perfect. Why aren't you using that other mic, man?
Because it is so sensitive that if I was to plug it in, it would like hear the cars going by outside my apartment. Like,
fair enough.
Originally, I was using it because I got booked to record the first series I got booked to record was this little kids book series. It's the Rogue series that I was telling you about, and I can say its name now because it's on its way out and stuff. But I tried to do the first couple chapters on it, and it was like I could hear the hum coming from my kitchen of my refrigerator. I was like, oh, shit. I
was about to bring up something about software, but we're not there quite yet.
Yeah.
But it's a very sensitive mic, huh?
Yeah, you just got to have the right mic for the job. That's one thing I would actually encourage researching, the difference between like a condenser mic or a cardioid mic or a directional mic, and as well as mics that come with flat band EQs, multi EQs, dB reduction and stuff like that, because it's really important and it makes a huge impact on your recording experience. I feel like it's important when you're recording a book or when you're recording a part that you're doing for somebody to give it a flat level. I have everything zeroed out on my interface. I have everything zeroed out. There's nothing special going through my mic. That all happens in post-production because I want to give it just a flat, raw performance, and that's easier to work with than if you're trying to compensate for the 6-band EQ that you have built in, or in your case, like with the mixer, where you've been messing around with your gain levels and your deep monitoring and all this stuff. So I kind of like this for that reason, because it's very upfront, it's very simple, it's good quality, it gets the job done.
Yeah, all you need is something that actually really captures what you're looking for. Certain sound. I mean, so I watched this YouTube video of a guy that had like 3 different microphones, and he was talking about like I'm trying to remember, like the EQ arc for vocals that is supposed to be like the special thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Like heightening up the bass. Oh, I think it's like I think it's like a V.
Mm-hmm.
So like you take out the mids basically, or something like that. But he was like, all right, this is why it doesn't work. So he like did like 3 different microphones all in that same EQ, and they all sounded way different. He's like, I wouldn't want to add bass to this microphone or bottom end to this microphone, but it sounds good with this one, and vice versa or whatever. Yeah, it just all really depends on what you're trying to achieve.
True. And it's really important to play around with that.
You don't want to use a hammer when you're supposed to use a screwdriver.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Use the right tool for the job.
It's really important to test, too. Run a test recording, sit there and record yourself, make it a bunch of noises. If you're doing narration, get into a character or two, raise your voice, talk loud. A lot of people don't understand that, like when singers and voice actors talk, we're usually using this kind of principle between our voice and the camera and the microphone.
Yeah.
But if you yell, you want to pull way back, and if you're whispering, you gotta get up right up close, So
yeah,
get intimate with that.
Sometimes if I'm yelling, I'll go like this a little bit, so I don't have to get as far away, and so it gives it like a little bit of an echo.
That's cool.
Instead of just yelling right into the mic.
Yeah.
More than one way to skin a cat, right?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the cool things about it. It's an art form, and everybody's art is kind of specific to them as a person.
Yeah.
You see a lot of different ways people get stuff done. So that's mics. You did bring up the pop guards. I would say this is an essential piece of equipment, whether it looks super cool like yours does or whether it's kind of a basic, usual one like mine, kind of grassroots.
I've seen people I've listened to like people that are not using any, and I'm like, just put a sock, like literally, put a sock over your microphone, because you are blowing that thing out just like with all your P's and whatnot. Like, dude, like, come on, like, you're narrating this stuff on YouTube and you've got thousands on thousands of views, tens of thousands of views, and your audio is horrible. It's deplorable audio. Like, get out of here.
For anybody tuning in and listening or uneducated about it, what a pop filter does is it takes these harsher syllables that are words create, P's, K's, T's, S's, and it softens them so that it doesn't sound like a hiss or like a sonic punch in the guts right to your ears when it comes back in recording, which is exactly what Matt's talking about. Because if you don't do that, it's harsh.
A sonic punch, yeah, no, and you feel it when you're listening. It's like everything will be normal, and then it's like, oh, right in the gut.
I'm particularly sensitive to S's.
Well, yeah.
Even on my
as you should be. I mean, what? No, I didn't say that. Freya, why'd you say that? But yeah, I have one like that, but I have this one as I don't know. I think it was about $10, $10 or so dollars, and then I have the microphone. Or I mean the stand that I'm using is just get to see my dirty, nasty room. Awesome. It's just like a boom. I don't know. Very cheap off of a shelf. So it's just clamped onto a shelf. I don't know, maybe $15-$20. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rad. I love those. I'm gonna get me a desk one of these days and have that nice setup going too.
Well, I don't have a desk. I just have a table and then a bunch of shelves that I put into the wall.
I'm not even gonna say what my setup looks like because yeah, we're waiting for some royalties to come back, right? That's all I'm gonna say.
Whatever, if it works, it works. You know.
Here, I'll give it a little. I'm on a classic microphone stand that I am using. So
I've got one right here, right to my right, not even 2 feet away.
Yeah.
Sometimes I use if I want to stand up. So if I want to stand up and project when I'm recording, then I'll use one that's bigger, higher, taller, better mic stand.
It's funny you should bring that up because I'm always standing when I do my stuff. I can't really sit down and read because I move a lot when I'm doing my voice acting stuff. My face will stand by my mic, but my body's like...
well, that's what makes it... that's, in my opinion, that's what really makes it better. I'm not a writer, so I don't know a better word to use than better, but like... I've noticed, like, when I'm reading, when I get into my flow, I'm just like, I'm not worrying about my recording software because I can see it on my other monitor. I'm not worrying about that. I'm not take my hands off of my mouse, off of my keyboard, and I just start going. And I'm like, I'm using my hands. I'm, all this different stuff. Yeah, all this different stuff. So I completely agree with you. And it took me much, much, much longer to score a book deal than it did for you, which I knew. I knew that would happen. So I'm totally fine with it. I'm not envious. I'm hardly literate. So, but the first time I got a book was after like 60 something auditions. Stood up for an audition, and I got a book right then. That book. The only time I stood up.
That's cool.
I didn't audition. I got that book.
That's super awesome.
There's definitely
that instant turnaround change on it.
100%. Yeah, no, there's definitely something to say about that. Opening the diaphragm and, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I think if you saw my setup. So we'll get into it here in a sec. But I have some sound shielding that goes around this when I'm doing. Oh crap! When I'm doing readings and shit. And what it does is it takes away, for our listeners, it takes away other sounds from being able to penetrate and get into my microphone. But it's solid. It's opaque. So what that means is I can't really look through it and just like have something on the wall that I can read, or have a stand in front of me. And so what I got, I'll take my laptop and I'm like holding it down here, and I've got my stuff, so I'm like peeking through this tiny little corner. There's the hole at the bottom. I'm holding my
like
book.
Side-eyeing it.
Like, yeah, I'm just like getting into it, and I'm like reading a little bit ahead, and just kind of going and swiping through, and it's got to be a spectator sport, but I mean it works. So I haven't quite figured out how to get around that particular obstacle yet. I liked your setup is dope. I loved that when you sent me the picture of that. You should totally tell peeps about that.
Well, like I don't have the shield like you have, which I would like to have, because not only does it block outside noise type thing, but it also, when you're talking into it, it keeps your voice from bouncing off the wall and coming back. Like your voice goes in and is dead. That
reverb.
So it definitely helps with that. But I've got, maybe I'll put in a picture in post, but I've got 2 monitors. One I just flip sideways and turn it into where I read.
Oh,
and then
so
the
cool.
other one is really nice. It's so much. Yeah, and it was cheap. Like monitors these days are not that expensive. For like just like a 20-inch monitor, it's not that expensive. And then I have another monitor where I have my recording software, but we'll get into software in a little bit. Basically, I have 2 I just hit record, and that's going on one side, and then my reading is going on the other side, which is nice.
That is nice. Yeah, and that flipping it sideways so it's like long like that. I was like,
yeah, you could just see a lot more of it.
I thought you had like a projector a little while back.
I did.
I was working.
I never used it for this though.
I saw somebody that was like straight up would just like project it onto their wall, and they were reading, and they had their whole setup there, and they're just doing it while it's on their wall. I thought that was a nice touch. Like you said, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. A lot of ways to, however you're comfortable working.
That would be pretty rad though, to be able to see like 5 chapters in advance or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it depends on how long the chapters are.
Do I hear salt there?
A little salty, just a tad.
Authors, please make sure that you are setting your chapters up appropriately.
Don't make an 1.5-hour book into 1
How many chapters is it?
Chapters. 72 chapters.
72 chapters.
I mean, it says
they're like 1.5 minutes each.
100%. Yeah. I've never had so much issue with a book, or like problems recording a book before. It's just
so good.
Like, because then every single one you put through the ACX audio lab, right?
Yeah.
Every single chapter. Yeah, exactly. You have to. So every single 1.5 minutes or so, just on an average, it could be a little shorter, a little longer, whatever.
Right.
But every single one I have to upload and put it through the, the credentials or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you have to run it by the QA. And for those that are not familiar, when you're working with ACX, which is the company that handles audiobook productions for Audible, iTunes, and I think there's one other one that they produce for.
And Amazon.
Amazon, that's right. Amazon owns Audible, though. So anyway.
Yeah.
ACX does have this audio lab where when you have recorded a chapter, which is usually how the books are broken down, you record that chapter, you throw it in, and it has to double check various parameters to make sure that the listener's experience is not going to be negatively impacted. It double checks things like your peaks and like your root mean square of your voice volume and your normalization. It makes sure that they're not too big of files and all this stuff that if they didn't do it, it would suck to listen to the book.
Well,
so.
I've never ran into the issue of my file being too big. I think that the best, or like maybe the simplest term or way that I can think of it, is that to make sure that the volume is consistent.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole book.
Make sure it sounds right.
Yeah. Because like sometimes I'll watch things where it's like a compilation on YouTube or something of narrators narrating some sort of cartoon or something, a story. Each one's like 5-6 minutes long, and it's like one of them's really quiet, and then the next one's like, and it's just like it's like jarring, Yeah. So you want to make sure everything's just on the same level.
Yeah, you want to make sure that your listener doesn't have to touch the volume ever.
100%.
Set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it. Yeah.
That's cool. So we've talked stands, we've talked pop guards, we've talked mics. Let's talk headphones. I see. Are you rocking in-ear monitors or?
Yeah. So right now I wouldn't call them monitors, but they're some JBL Tune Beam, just little earbuds. I'm actually not monitoring myself. That would be the.
They got a bad attitude. They look comfy though.
Yeah, no, they're not bad.
That's rad.
But like these plug in straight directly to my.
Oh yeah, you got it on the main out on the mix. Makes sense.
Yeah, I gotta run to the restroom.
Pee break.
We'll be back. Yeah, intermission.
We're gonna get you a cup. I mean, at least it isn't like the runs or something. So just to recap, while Matt is going to the bathroom, it's only going to cost you about $100 to $500 entry level for a computer. Microphones, you're going to pay about $100. But again, the best thing to do is invest a little bit in your microphone. Whether you're going to be using a mixer, whether you're going to be using an audio interface, whether you're going to try and use a USB straight to your computer, invest in that microphone a little bit and make the sound quality that's going in, make what you're working with top notch if you can, because that's where you're going to see the biggest return. Microphones are anywhere from about $100 to $500. And pop guards actually don't cost that much. You're going to see pop guards running for about 20 to 50, maybe 100 if you're going to go all out, but you really shouldn't be spending more than 20 to 50 bucks. There's some good websites like Sweetwater. A lot of people talk Guitar Center, and I'm kind of like about it, but again, there's a lot of ways to get it done. Check out the Reverb app. It's just an app called Reverb, where people sell stuff like we're talking about in a marketplace kind of setting, which is kind of nice. So just a few little suggestions. You can get your cables, you can get anything that you need. Also, recapping, there are mixers, there are audio interfaces, and if you're a USB microphone guy, you can just plug that straight into your computer, which yours truly is kind of against, but that's just me. I'm being picky. So that's where we're at currently.
Well, my headphones have a thing called Bluetooth. I don't know if you've heard of this.
What?
While I was, watering the bushes, I could hear you talking. You had some great points. But one, I have never even considered buying a pop guard that was close to $50 or $100. Like, what's the difference? I mean, if there is, please enlighten me.
I mean, so one difference you'll see is brand name. There's always people out there that'll pay for a name. The second difference that you'll see is the type of foam that's used. Some of the really expensive ones will use different foam types. There's also a metal type of pop guard that is used, because really the goal is just disruption of airflow. That one, yeah.
It's like $10, $15 maybe on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, it's elastic? That's dope. Yeah, that's perfect.
But it's, I mean, I don't know if it's metal, maybe just really strong plastic.
It could be. Who knows? Bite it and see what happens. That's so metal.
I know. Oh, and then you brought up Sweetwater. I love Sweetwater. So that's where I got this mixer. That's where I got this microphone. Because if you have somewhat decent credit, like, and by decent, I mean like I have horrible credit, but I can order stuff from them and do like 3 payments on it. Like, boom. Like,
yeah, they do stuff
and
with
they're
like
awesome.
Casino and Klarna, and yeah.
I haven't bought anything from them in over a year, maybe 2 years, and I'll still have like one of their reps email me and be like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, not like a spam email, but like a real email. Like, "Hey man, like, you know, how's that gear working for you?" Yeah, they're really
Sweetwater they're an industry leader. Anything and everything that you could think of for any type of audio, video, lighting, any media equipment, they've got
guitars and amps.
Oh yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
Best of the best. Anything you want.
Very good.
They also do have a thing where like people trying to resell old gear and stuff do that too. So you can buy used on their website, which I think is pretty cool of them to do. Because guys are always looking to swap out gear, trying to buy new gear. Let's get that new PA or whatever they're doing. When I was doing like concerts and live media and production and shows and stuff, that we use them all the time. But yeah, circling back to headphones though, I'm kind of an over-ear man, as you can see.
Me too. Right now I'm just sporting the earbuds, so yeah, I like
fits with the look.
Ear, you know.
Yeah. I think it's important for me because it does 2 things for me. One, obviously the sound quality. I'll be able to hear everything. But I also kind of need to eliminate everything else. I need to not be able to hear the hum of the world. I just got to be in the zone with it, so it kind of helps me focus in better.
And it's different than like having ANC or active noise canceling on some earbuds. It's like a different feeling, having some over the ear, blocking the world out. It's like a different feeling of having over the ear versus like ANC, active noise canceling on earbuds, which I like the over the ear versus the earbuds. I had a pair of Audio-Technica MX50s for a while, and I really, really liked those a lot. I like 200, 250 or something for those.
That's rad.
I ended up trading them for a big old stereo system, a big ghetto blaster.
You get me 8 tape decks on that son bitch.
You don't even know. You don't even know. I can play vinyl, I can play tapes, I can play 8-tracks, I can play CDs. And it even has AM, FM on it.
My panties are wet.
I know, right? Better go change those out. Jeez.
I just sit in it.
It's warm. It's warm. It keeps me warm.
It's cold outside, but not inside. So I think hardware-wise, that's pretty much all we're really going to need to get things set up and running.
I think you could get all of it done with $300 to $400.
Yeah, I'd say if you're smart with your money, absolutely, definitely.
$300 to $400, but that's assuming you don't already have a computer, for one. Which most people have a computer, and that's probably the biggest expense, besides a microphone.
Yeah. I don't really see much of a way to set it up so that you're doing things like on your phone. I know a couple people that just kind of hold their phone and go for it. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't agree with that, and I do not recommend it because your quality suffers, everything suffers. There's no way you're getting it done with just your phone.
I mean, I don't know if this like saying works for this part right here, but like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, is it worth it to invest $150 in a mic or a computer or an interface or whatever. To me, yes, the juice is worth the squeeze. Like, it is definitely worth it to me. To have 2 monitors, yeah, I mean, you can find look on Facebook Marketplace, you can find a monitor for very cheap.
Yep, absolutely.
Very cheap.
And I think the attitude you got to have too is you might be okay with it, but what about the people you're working for? What about the people that are going to listen to you? You know, what about if you put out a production and it sounds like you were inside of a paper bag the entire time? That's your name out there. That's what people are going to think of when they think of you. Oh, this is the guy that recorded inside Frito-Lay's. Cool. Nah.
He recorded inside of Frito-Lay's and he wasn't even sponsored by him.
Wow, you can tell he had his dryer set on low. Now, I'm going to throw something out there here. Hold on one sec. I'm going to grab it. Okay. I know this is going to look ghetto, but we're talking soundproofing. A lot of people, I mean, I don't have a lot of stuff hanging on my walls in here. You know, I just got my apartment back a little while ago. But this, my friends, the common egg carton. I've been saving a bunch of these. I got a stack of them over there. You buy a bunch of pins. You can throw this stuff on your wall.
Or like an industrial stapler.
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing about it is this is paper, but because it has this non-uniform surface, it's got, you know, you've got the pokey part and you've got the cavey part that held the eggs. This is going to take sound waves and it's going to break them apart and diffuse them. So it'll actually add a little bit more quiet to your recording space. So if you can't afford some soundproofing, if you can't afford insular foam or stuff like that, then, or if you're waiting for your first few productions to pay off, then something to consider.
Well, have you ever seen the movie Hustle and Flow?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they did. They put up egg cartons, and then they're like, "It's hard out here for a pimp when you're trying to get the money for the rent." You know,
they were right.
Made a good old song.
They were right. I think in one of our later episodes, we'll probably be covering like the audio submission process and what you're gonna have to deal with when you're waiting for like your books to get approved or your whatever voice work you're doing to get approved, unless you're doing it like live in a studio for people that are going to take care of that for you, which doesn't happen for most people until later.
Yeah, I mean, the both of us, we are the actors as well as the producers, as well as the recording artist, as well as everything.
One-man armies.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fun. Which actually kind of brings us around to the software angle.
Yeah.
You're on a budget. What do you use? What do you do?
You use free software.
Yeah.
But
what do you
not not any. There's a few. I'm quite sure you probably use Audacity.
Among others, yeah. I love Audacity so much because obviously it's free, but what you can do with it, if you read up and if you're intelligent and if you put in a little time learning about it, it does literally everything that you're going to see in a high-level studio. I mean, it doesn't have the pretty aesthetic and the bubbly looking shit and the bells and whistles, but any raw audio manipulation that you need done, any edits that you need to make, anything that you can think of that you need done, particularly for voice work, it's got to come.
Well, for voice work, I think there's only a few things that you need to put on there. A noise gate to block out everything else going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like an EQ, a compressor. That's pretty much it. You know, if you really want to get into it, you know, I use one, and you know, we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But it has a few different things, like a tube equalizer, a de-esser, a saturation in and out.
De-esser is essential.
Exactly, it is. It is very much essential. And the de-esser, for anyone who's like not familiar, it just like takes all those harsh, like all that stuff is like gone pretty much. And so it's just like,
yep.
Because I've even watched like really, really popular YouTube channels, like extremely, you know, millions of subscribers. And I've listened to the guy talking and I'm like, I can hear all of that stuff, but it's like an echo. Like when he's like speaking, I'm like listening to his words, but then I just hear this jumble of like, I don't know. It's hard to explain once you know it, you know it, you know.
Yeah.
Once you know, you know.
So important. If you know, you know, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say also, you're talking about gates. I would say a limiter. Limiter is pretty important. And whatever your loudness normalization software looks like for you. You know, I know you brought up a compression system, compressors, and I kind of shy away from those a little bit, just because with regards to ACX in particular, it kind of sacrifices, for me, a little bit of the audio quality. Whereas if I throw it through a loudness normalizer, that'll take the RMS and change that, I find I lose a little bit less audio quality. Not that a compressor is bad, but
it's all personal type
ways to skin the cat. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think limiters are super important because they are wanting that hard line. You know, your peaks can't be above, you know, what is it, 0 decibels or whatever it is.
Isn't that like similar to what a compressor will do?
It is, yeah, it's similar. But there's, when you get to post-production, I don't know about you, but I think you could probably agree, since you have 70 chapters to do on this, you want to have to do as little as possible. You want to have...
I don't do anything.
You want to get into, run 1, 2, 3 things maybe, and then boom, it's done. It passes QA checks.
100%. That's how I do it. Yeah, that's how I've been recording it.
Yeah. I also... and we'll probably get into it more later, but I like to keep room tone on hand to work with. I'll have about 30 to 60 seconds of neutral room tone, which is where you just set your mic up, hit record, walk away, come back in a minute, end the recording. And what that does is it gives you, for noise normalization, like what you were talking about, sound gating and stuff like that, it gives you a profile that can be used for that entire file to make it so that all the random occlusions and the random sounds aren't there. And also when you're reading a section, at the end you can give it that dull sound, that empty sound, without it being perfectly silent. Because I know it's weird, but our brains will key in on that absolute silence, and then you'll be like, that sounds weird. Whereas if it's just kind of that low level white noise, it feels natural. So it's just little,
little things that make it just sound more professional and less amateur. And something I've been working on is my breathing technique. And I think we'll get into that on a later episode, as far as breathing technique and delivery on lines and things like that. Yeah. But it's definitely very advantageous to have some sort of noise gate or a room, as you were speaking of. What I just use one DAW, which stands for digital.
I don't know how to spell that.
DAW, digital audio workstation. I use one. It's called Cakewalk. It's free.
Yeah.
I do enjoy it a lot. I mean, but I feel like with DAWs, DAWs, digital software, all the same. That's all the same thing, just for people. It's just like what we were talking about with like Android and iPhone. Like if you get used to using Audacity and you're really good with Audacity, stick with Audacity. If you get really good with Cakewalk and you love Cakewalk, stay with that. If you're really good with a different one, do it. Just learn one and learn the ins and outs of it. Because all of them are extremely capable. They're all extremely capable.
I agree.
Well, most of them.
It's kind of like learning a language every time you jump into a new DAW, right? And they all maybe do the same thing in the end product, but how they get there and what their tools are. And this button's over here, and these ones are labeled this way, and this one, blah, 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 blah. So I totally agree with that. If you find that you're specializing, if you find something that you like, if you find something that works really well for you, cool, run it.
If it works, it works. And then there's always YouTube. I have
3 on my computer right now.
You what?
I have 3 different DAWs right now that I work with. I've got Traction. They make waveform. which I think has some nice little perks and some features. I have another one called Reaper, which is
Reaper's good. Reaper's good.
Reaper people talk about, and then of course Audacity. Again, I'm coming from the Mac world, so switching over to this, I've got a PC.
Well,
my laptop's a PC.
I mean, GarageBand is better than most any of them, and that's free.
GarageBand's lit.
Yeah, it is. It is
legit.
It's amazing.
I love GarageBand.
I've looked around so many times on like Pirate Bay and other sites to legally download GarageBand. I definitely don't have to use a VPN or anything when I'm doing that. Wink, wink. Yeah, no, GarageBand is good stuff, and that's free.
Yeah, the standard on any Mac. I love GarageBand.
I mean, it was like Skrillex, their first album. It was like all GarageBand, I believe.
It's wild.
Made his whole first album on GarageBand just while he was, I was going to say during isolation or whatever, but it definitely wasn't during COVID. It was many, 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 many years before.
Yeah, it was like a solid 10 years before that. Oof. When we were young.
Yeah, I know. I've got gray hairs in my beard now, man.
My hair's just running away. I'm actually growing it back, but I don't know why.
No, you're getting too tall for your hair. That's it. You know?
Let's go with that. I like that. Circling back to the DAW angle, I've got a lot of experience using like Adobe Premiere and Logic Pro, Pro Tools, PreSonus systems, and they're awesome. But again, voice work is not as involved technologically as music production, as live manipulation, as multi-channel stuff. So you don't need much, and if you can figure out a good way to create the end product that you need, I say go for it.
100%, yeah, 100%. I mean, I wouldn't say you could just do it like this, but I'll just say, let's say you were in a room that was extremely well treated acoustically, or acoustic treated or whatever. You could almost just record it with a good pair of headphones that have a mic, or, almost. As opposed to like recording drums, live drums.
Okay.
As opposed to that.
I see the comparison that you're making.
If it makes, yeah. But you can't do it with just like a good pair of headphones. I mean, you can't, but you can't do either.
Please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, please don't. You can't do either one, the voice or the drums. But yeah, it is. I agree. It's much easier. Well, I mean, you need a lot less as far as like software power or DAW power to do vocals, or to do audiobooks or voice acting than you do for recording guitar, whatever.
Yeah.
I agree. That's all I meant to say.
I think it's easier than it ever has been to get into voice work, but I think you're also going to get out what you put in. For our viewers, if you're considering getting in, just start. Read up on things, do some research. Obviously, follow our channel because that's why we're here.
100%. Yeah. Put any questions.
If you guys have questions, post them below in the feed. Post them in the comments. Give us a like, a follow, a share, and we'll just keep coming. We'll just keep being here. We try to upload every week, and we're shooting for Sundays going forward. But somebody forgot this week. Not pointing any fingers. Damn it! It's coming back at me, and we're just gonna put that down. But yeah, I think we got into a good spot right here. Go get your gear. Jump in. Have fun.
Yeah, if you have any questions about gear, let us know before you buy it. Don't want you wasting your money.
True. Yeah, we're happy to review gear for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free. With that said, I'm Tyler.
And I am Matt.
And this is Two Voices, One Mic. Thanks y'all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
Right on.